So Faye of Destiny had an interesting thought-provoking video where she posed the question, when should you carry? Or should you carry? So let's go ahead and jump into it. First off, there is no, and I want to put out a few ground rules on this one. First off, understand that there's no difference between using a gun to take a life as there is using a knife, beating someone with a stick, or using a self-defense move to snap their neck. Essentially, the end result is all the same. Your assailant is now dead. So that's the first thing. The second thing that we need to understand is that it does take emotional training. For most people to be able to handle the emotional aftermath after taking a life. Just the way of it. It's called PTSD, and some people call it PTSD. There's all kinds of names for it. It all boils down to the same. So, with those two considerations, you have to determine whether or not you are capable of that. If you are not capable of that, maybe you shouldn't carry. It kind of goes down to my two favorite questions. What are you willing to die for? What are you willing to kill for? If you can't answer those two questions, maybe you shouldn't carry. For your own sake. I'm always going to be a huge proponent of the Second Amendment. Always have been, always will be. But it's one thing to have it sitting in a drawer, and it's another to be carrying it on you daily. I live in a state where where I'm actually lucky when it comes to gun control laws, in that there's only 3 places that I cannot carry: governmental building, a school, or a gambling establishment, i.e. casino. As long as it's not one of those 3 places, it's not a felony. If I am carrying in one of those 3 places, it is a felony. Outside of that, I can carry anywhere I like, as long as I have a permit, of course. So, that's the first thing. The second thing is, then, when should you carry? Understanding the ground rule of there's no difference between the methods of killing my opponent. And note, when I'm saying killing my opponent, I'm not talking murder. I'm talking self-defense. I'm talking lawful use of deadly force in a self-defense situation. Okay? A little bit of a difference there. Just want to make sure that we're understanding each other perfectly crystal clear on this one. I do advocate, if it is a determined, to be a self-defense situation, to use whatever force that is necessary to repel the attack, up to and including termination of the attacker or neutralization of the threat, whatever that takes. Hopefully you can just say leave me alone and they will do that. that doesn't happen every time. And to believe that that happens every time in every situation is naive. So, let's look at the responsibilities of carrying. First off, you have to know your weapon. You have to know your weapon intimately well. Okay? So that means that you can't just buy your weapon or just buy a gun and start carrying it and expect to know how to use it should the time arise. You shouldn't. That's why you go to the range, and that's why you practice your marksmanship. Because every round that comes out of the end of that barrel, you are responsible for. Likewise, you should not buy a gun, buy a holster, get your permit, never practice drawing and reholstering, and expect to do it magically well, wonderfully well, under a high-stress situation. Doesn't make much sense, does it? That's why holstering and reholstering and dry fire practice is so crucial. Most modern firearms will allow you to dry fire. Unless you're using something totally ancient, it will allow you to dry fire practice. Have something like that. Dry fire practice constantly. Practice loading, unloading, magazine changes. Practice chambering around. Practice all of these things. Obviously use all safety measures and common sense, but as long as you allow common sense and safety measures to be your guide, and safety standards, safety rules be your guide, you will be fine. The question of getting professional training. If you feel that you need professional training, then by all means get that. If you do not feel that you need professional training, then use common sense and safety rules and go from there and learn as much as you can about this subject. Because one day your knowledge on this subject could very well save your life and the life of another. This is why we carry. To me. So, the next question is, when should you carry? My answer, and my personal answer, is that you should carry whenever you are legally allowed to do so. Because you never know when that situation may be that you have to defend your life or the life of another. And I'll tell you, it's a lot easier to do that with better and superior weaponry than it is with more primitive weaponry. Also takes far less training, in my estimation. So that's what I would recommend. And that's my answer to the question. I hope that that you all have found something worthwhile in this. Thank you. I appreciate your comments. I appreciate your views. I appreciate your time. Defend your homes wisely.